Hello, this is the Family Values podcast. My name is Joe Woods.
My name's Tom Hicks.
To let you know, we've got a new studio set up. We're here with producer Harris and executive producer Chloe. We're now the wrong side, so to put it, of the Charlie Brown's roundabout. We've gone from Woodford to South Woodford.
Yeah, this is gets rough around these ends.
Right, so let's just say we've got a live stream here. It is Tuesday, the 29th of October, so you can guess what the live stream's of. Tom, take it away.
Yeah, we are currently looking at MPs giving interviews in the House of Commons because they are all posturing for position at the newly announced, although not officially confirmed, general election, which has now just passed its third reading in the House.
Yes.
So it will go to the House of Lords tomorrow, and barring a constitutional crisis tomorrow, we will have a general election on the 12th of December.
First thing to basically say without even sort of looking into detail is, what is there to gain from this?
Yeah, no, I can see that is a completely valid criticism because everybody knows their positions. They haven't really changed that much since 2017.
I mean, we talk of parliamentary deadlock, but the reality is this just further... I mean, this is further entrenchment.
Yeah.
We're not going to see any shift of seats. We're not going to see seats go from blue to red and red to blue. People are entrenched.
The only way that we are going to see that is if there is possibly the biggest cultural and political shift in this country in a long time, which is that the north of England decides to actually vote for the Tory party in large numbers, which is a big ask, really.
Or goes for secondary blue, which is UKIP, Brexit party.
Yeah, which is a possibility, and I think those are the most important closed doors talks that are going to be happening this week.
Am I going mental, right? Sorry to interrupt, and this is a really dumb question, but is it just me, or is the Brexit party's party colour also blue, or is it grey?
It is light blue, I would say.
It's light blue as opposed to the relatively navy blue of the Tories.
Yeah, I'd say that would probably...
Could you not have chose a different colour?
They're running out of colours a little bit, aren't they?
Well, I mean, UKIP were fucking purple.
They were, and they couldn't have gone for purple because that would have just been too much of a similarity, and they really wanted to distance themselves from UKIP.
UKIP, you can't just say, we're the new purged UKIP.
Yeah, the new purged UKIP. Yeah.
Which they are.
Yeah.
Add a few communists in that are purged UKIP.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the colours, look at the similarities between the SNP and the Lib Dems. It's a slightly different colour shade of yellow. So, as I say, we've effectively run out of colours on
Another question as well, because I know what I think on this, and I know a lot of people have high hopes for this, but I'm pretty pessimistic. Are we going to see any changes from blue or red to orange? Yellow, sorry.
You mean to the Lib Dems? Yeah. I think you'll see some blue seats, particularly in London and the South, who are heavily sort of conservative Remain areas. Places like, I think Richmond was very close to going to the Lib Dems in that by-election they had not too long after the 2017 election. I reckon you'll see a few of those. But apart from that, I don't think you're going to see a lot of changes. In Scotland, you'll see some changes because the Tories will lose a few of the seats up there, which makes it a bigger ask for the Tories because they've got to gain more seats in England than they lose in Scotland, and then some to try and get this majority up.
I mean, obviously, we're going to see nothing. We're going to see nothing turn yellow. Well, I suppose again the first yellow in Scotland because Scotland has the SNP. They're already an out-and-out Remain party.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, is a complete prerogative given the way Scotland voted.
Just to kind of, dick slap Joe Swinson for a second. The reality is, I mean, she may say that she wants this to be a referendum, or she might insist on this being a referendum. Shit, fuck me. This would be an election fought on issues away from Brexit, but she knows the reality.
Oh yeah, I mean
this is a one-issue election.
Oh, I mean she's standing on a platform of revoking Article 50 without a referendum, so I think she's very much admitted that. I think it's definitely Labour's going to be Labour's strategy, like we did in 2017, quite successfully, I might add, considering who's in charge of their
away
party.
from Brexit.
Yeah, they're going to. I mean, we just saw it just before we went live. There was a Labour MP talking about, and he was trying to deflect away from Brexit and go on to the social care, the NHS, all the stuff which Labour are. Ultimately,
I think that's going to backfire.
No, I think you're right because Labour's position on Brexit is it is possibly the worst political position I have ever seen.
I think the same younger voting base they kind of relied on during the 2017 election. I think has kind of, if they do vote, I think has made up their mind. I think they've gone Lib Dem.
Yep, I think you're right.
I think you're talking about even momentum diehards, or you're talking the old sort of crusty left. That I think still remains the hardcore votership of that party.
Oh, I would say you're right about that, and it's where where the crusties are, as it were, in the country, because we're still on first past the post, and I think that's the Lib Dems' big problem.
I mean, I'll backtrack a little bit. We're talking about the biggest political party in Europe, but
in terms of membership,
yeah, by membership, yeah,
which is a very sneaky Ed Miliband little trick by making it only free quid to join the Labour
Party.
So
it may be a bit of an exaggeration to say that it'll be an absolute wipeout for Labour, but I really think this idea will backfire on them to follow the 2017 strategy, because you have to remember it was seen to be a one-horse race in 2017.
Well, it would seem to be. Well, I think that's why they'll probably go for it, because they had Theresa May it was higher in the polls when she called this election than Boris Johnson currently is now.
Yeah.
So it's not a done deal, and if they can think, well, we made all that ground up against the Tories in 2017, why not run the same strategy and try and do it again? When quite clearly this is a much more Brexit-focused election.
I just think it's cynical on both. Okay, we're going to sort of slipping away from Labour here for a second, but before I do slip away from Labour, I think it will backfire. I think it's a misstep on probably on Seamus Milne's behalf, because he essentially will be leading this campaign. He will be strategising his campaigan.
Yep.
Or essentially for Corbyn.
Which is not unusual, given who's strategising everything from Boris Johnson. The big DC. Do you think I asked you this last week, but do you think they're do you think they're kind of holding back his influence a bit now, Cummings, or is he still? I think they're trying to roll back his perception. I think it is politically useful to have someone who's got such a reputation for strategic genius, because then people think, oh, we're in safe hands because Dominic Cummings is there, and he does have a proven track record of winning effectively. Yeah. But at the same time, people who generally don't like the European Union are also too keen on people behind the scenes, unelected bureaucrats, sort of controlling people. So there's a bit of an oxymoron there, which eventually the Conservative and Leave voters are going to have to reconcile with, really.
Well, we know this. In terms of a partisanal position on both sides, people will not sort of look at their own either their own views on their own kind of political side and winger, so to speak, and they will never sort of reassess their own hypocrisy.
It's much easier to poke holes in the opposition, to criticise the opposition for things, particularly on principle, than it is to criticise
political philosophy aside. Just to get back onto the events of tonight. Can we expect any more big news tonight, or are we just expecting, as we said, the third reading has just passed. We're not going to see this move to the 9th tonight. It could move the Lords tomorrow to the 9th, if I'm correct.
Yes, that is what they're planning at the moment. The Lords will scrutinise and do whatever they do, which is, for a bill this important, it's effectively ceremony. They do still have the legal power as the upper house to change and amend legislation, but given that this is an election and they are an unelected house, I really don't think that they're going to risk.
It's not going to play well.
No,
particularly since people talk about Parliament being the Commons being a very kind of pro-Remain and kind of blocking. Part of government. I mean, fuck me, you should see the Lords.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that is what League's biggest fear a lot of the time is when a Brexit legislation eventually does get passed, it's that the Lords will try and do some wrecking amendment for it.
But to be fair, the Lords have stayed out of it a lot since 2017. Since it was related to Gina Miller's case that they passed a motion. Oh fuck, I can't remember what it was in regards to now. Do you remember what motion they passed? It was blocked in the Commons. It was put up to the Lords, and then they passed it. major Brexiteer and Leave voter outrage, and I can't remember where it was now.
No, I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a period in the whole Brexit thing where I was almost zoned out because it was during the negotiation stage.
Well, that's
and
the
I
thing.
thought there's no point in doing that until we know what the deal was. And I'm glad I did because I would have been so bored of it by now.
2017 seems so fucking long ago now.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't feel like only 3 months ago, but Theresa May was Prime Minister. It feels like a lot longer than that.
So with the outcome of tonight and with December looming in, 5 weeks' time, 6 weeks' time, what happens to what have you just broken?
The shisha pipe.
Oh, no.
Oh no, we can't smoke any shisha later on.
Oh, don't worry.
Fuck. Oh, bollocks. Okay. Well, how do you suggest smoking a broken shisha pipe?
Oh, there's ways.
Hey, how many MPs does it take to get a new shisha pipe?
330, actually. Literally. I mean, if you were to pass that motion, it'd be 330.
Yeah. It's always 330, depending if Sinn Féin want to lend their vote or not, which we never do.
We fucking said this last episode. We were going to take a little deeper dive into what's going on with Sinn Féin at the moment, because naturally they've been sticking out of it. But if there's any case where maybe they should be sticking their nose in, it might be this one.
Well, I think a lot of Sinn Féin, I mean, they're obviously their primary goal, their only goal, their only focus for anything is Irish unification. And if I'm a Sinn Féin member, I think that having a Brexit, particularly a hard Brexit, is probably actually going to help that more than it hinders it. That's if I'm a Sinn Féin voter and MP, that's probably my thing. So I don't think they want to rock the boat too much on that, particularly with the deal that's going on.
Here's a question. I suppose it's more of a philosophy-based question. As a Sinn Féin, this is going back to 2016. As a Sinn Féin voter and as a Republican, do you morally have the right to vote in or out in a UK EU referendum?
It's an interesting question because it could be made, the practical argument could be made, look, well, it affects you, but then all voting affects you at the core of it. It is an interesting one. I would imagine, I would put good money on the fact that the Republican community in Northern Ireland probably voted 95% Remain because they would be in the same union as what they believe to be their rightful country.
And I also think there's just kind of a general partisan feeling of whatever basically the prods and the unionists will vote, they'll vote in the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, the prods were split when it came to Brexit, which is why it was like 70%.
50-50, the prods, weren't they?
Yes, a lot more Protestant support for Leave now because they feel that the EU is on Ireland's side, and anyone else on the Ireland side is obviously the opposite to them. Again, it's the enemy of my enemy sort of thing. Or the friend of my enemy even.
By the way, with the shisha pipe smashing, I went off my point and I got sidetracked. Berko.
Yeah.
What happens to Berko?
Well, Berko said he was going to leave on the 31st of October.
So 2 days from now.
2 days. Now, I'm not probably shocked to hear this. I'm not the biggest Berko fan, but at the same time, even I would say there's no point in him leaving 2 days before Parliament is going to get dissolved. So stick around until the end of Parliament. I mean, he's going to resign as an MP at the end of this Parliament anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't see there's much point electing a new speaker just before they come back, as it were. Particularly as that new speaker could technically be voted out of office.
Here's a good question. Away from trying to speculate who the next speaker will be, because most likely it will be a Labour member of the House. Either it'll be a Labour member of the House, or it'll be a very Brexit orientated member of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
Reason being is because, Berko may be a Conservative, but he's very much a 2000s Conservative.
Yeah, he's very much a
liberal
One Nation,
2000s One Nation Conservative.
And very much in the Remain camp, as it were. When it comes
very much. I mean, look, even I as a Remainer have to acknowledge that Berko kind of overstepped the bounds at times.
Yeah, he's made a position which is should be the constitutional bedrock of the House of Commons into a lot more liberally, shall we say.
But what do you see happening to Buckingham, his constituency? I mean, they've not been able to vote for 10 years in the election.
It's an interesting one. I would imagine, although I am just speculating here, that was a more Leave-based constituency, but not by much.
Was it Leave? I feel like it's one of those weird M25 orbital towns north. of London.
It
that
could be like
were,
St
were like
Albans or something.
marginally Remain.
Okay.
Like a lot of places like St Albans. I could be
Whatever it
wrong.
was, I reckon it'll be very marginal.
Oh, sorry, hang on, shit. Someone did tell me the other day it was Leave.
Okay, then.
I think like 51 or something.
Yeah,
But
as I say, it would be marginal either way, and I would imagine they'd obviously vote a Tory in, but the interesting thing would be, and it's really up to the selection committee of the local Conservative Association, who they put in charge of that, and it really depends on the views of Brexit of that committee. If they're pro-Brexit, then they're going to put a hard Brexiteer in.
I was going to say, if it's that hard a Leave constituency, do you see either a Conservative split being voted by, because obviously they're going to have a new Conservative incumbent MP. Do you see the Conservative vote being split by the Brexit Party?
Not in that part of the world.
Really?
I reckon in
Too sensible.
the home
Too
counties,
southernly sensible.
the home counties, excluding Essex,
Yeah.
will still be Tory heartlines, just as there are certain places up north which, despite their pro-Brexit stunt, will still return a Labour
By the way,
MP.
Kent. Don't forget Kent.
Yep, Kent as well. Yeah, but the east home counties are a little bit different than the west home counties.
Very different. North and west. Yeah, I'd say Essex and Kent are very, very culturally different places to the rest of the home counties.
Yeah, definitely.
Much bigger, sort of harder right populist.
Yeah, harder right, and traditionally even they've been a little less politically engaged.
Less professional, more working class.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely that kind of move for sort of right wing populism.
Yeah, but I don't see the Brexit Party making a lot of inroads in places like Surrey and West Sussex.
That's a stupid question. Which fucking county is Buckingham? Is Buckingham? It's fucking Buckinghamshire. I was going to say, is it in Berkshire? Is it in Berkshire? No, it's Buckinghamshire.
Yeah.
I think it might be a bit too sensible. Hence why I was thinking for a second, was it a marginal Remain?
Yeah.
And I don't think it was. I think it might be marginal Leave.
Yeah. As I say, it would definitely be boundary of a way, but the places where the Brexit Party will be looking towards will obviously be more up north, and I think we've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see who they put up for those seats, whether they try and have more old school Lexiteers, as it were.
Yes.
Who I would say are much
Like
more likely.
Ronnie, what's his name? Barry Gardner. Ronnie. Is it Ronnie Black?
I couldn't know
His name. He's all of a sudden become this kind of old school left wing Brexiter hero.
Right.
He's from one of the northeast constituencies. He's got a giant fucking purple splotch in his face. I can't remember his name. But he's just appeared out of the woodwork out of nowhere. He was like Rees-Mogg a couple of years ago.
Right.
Just suddenly just emerges from the backbenches as a hero for some reason. But yeah, I can see. Oh, by the way, before we move on to how many Labour constituencies potentially go Brexit, or how many Labour constituencies vote gets fucked up by Brexit Party enough to go blue, what do you see happening to our old Uncle Frank?
Oh, poor old Uncle Frank isn't going to be around for much longer, I don't think.
Do you not think the Social Justice Party are going to win in Berkhamsted?
We talked about this on one of our old podcasts, but it is possibly the worst name I've ever heard for it just doesn't go with the type of brand that he's going for, if you know what I mean.
It's completely diametrically opposed in every kind of modern contextual political sense.
Yes, it's like if he was in the 1980s, then that might have flown.
Yeah.
But social justice means a lot of different things.
He describes it as a left-wing social justice based party that is pro-Brexit.
Yeah.
And it's like, good luck with that one.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people who... The Venn diagram, the overlap in the Venn diagram of those people is
I know
very small.
Berkhamsted is northwest, but guess what, mate? The northeast has gone blue.
Yeah.
What I mean, the traditional left-wing, working-class, pro-Leave areas of the UK, guess what? They're no longer left-wing.
No.
Times have changed.
Yeah, pretty much. And but I mean, you can get that down. You can either put that down to the Tories appealing more to them, but I would definitely put it down to Labour just appealing less. In their eyes, they've become the party of North London.
In all honesty,
rather than the party of the North.
That's exactly part of it. I think. I think, in all honesty, in the working class sort of political realm at the moment, I think, in all honesty, I think the working class have gone right wing.
I would say that's
economically
true.
and socially.
I'd say that's true. Interestingly, historically, working class people, even before they were known as working class people, were always a lot more conservative.
But they've always been socially conservative.
Yeah. Apart from the last 100 years or so, when the Labour movement actually took hold, when the left wing of the 18th century, who were the Liberal Party, were definitely the party of the rich and the metropolitan elite, as it were.
And by saying working class, just to make this clear, I'm not talking areas of Essex where people still call themselves working class, but in reality, you know, they're sort of nouveau riche. They're kids of people who made money there.
Yeah.
But they just happen to have a quote unquote Cockney accent.
Yeah, that's not so much working class these days.
That's just Essex.
Yeah.
But I mean industry of the northeast. We're talking heavy industry. People are still part of the unions.
Yeah.
When we're talking working class, we're still talking about people involved in industry,
Yeah.
and those people are no longer left wing economically or socially.
No, I think you're completely right about that. I think they wouldn't describe themselves as conservative, but they wouldn't describe themselves as left wing either, but they act more conservative. You know what I mean?
It'll be interesting to take a snap poll of particularly areas like the really traditionally left-wing areas like Sunderland, like Newcastle, these areas that are very traditionally hard left. A political poll of those old Labour members and go, or even younger people, because obviously most younger people now in those areas are not Labour members. Do you consider yourself left-wing? And I guarantee most people no longer say no.
No, I think you're right about that. And it's particularly in the northeast, I'd say, but left wing and right wing have a lot less potency than they used to, because the parties just don't seem to represent that. I mean, this is a complaint from a lot of people in the home counties about the Conservative Party, particularly from people like Peter Hitchens, who say that the Conservative Party aren't a real Conservative Party because of the one nation element has been ruling for many years. And I think it's a similar sort of opposite effect that you're having in Labour.
I'm going to ask what many people have probably asked for at least a couple of decades now, since he's been had some kind of relevance. What the fuck does Peter Hitchens want in general?
Things to go back the way they were at some point in the past. But
essentially.
That's pretty much it.
We speak in the realm of Rees-Mogg being Victorian. Hitchens doesn't seem Victorian. He seems like a nihilist.
Yeah. No, he on it, anytime you hear him speak on something, he has just given up, because his vision of what conservatism should be is just nowhere. You can't find that anywhere in the actual political mainstream anymore. No. It is extremely traditional, conservative, church-based conservatism, which is just, as I say, it's something that most people that I know who consider themselves conservatives don't identify with, particularly people under 30. I mean, off the top of my head, about half the people I know that are conservatives are actually atheists. So,
do you think that's kind of London-centric, though?
You're correct about that. That is probably very London-centric. Because,
again, I mean, as with Brexit, if the Brexit referendum showed us anything, it's that a lot of people's thoughts on modern-day neoliberalism and neoconservatism is actually just very London-centric. And there's actually a big thought base out there in the country that is actually still socially conservative. I'd say less fiscally conservative, but definitely more socially conservative.
Well, it's the thing about physical conservatism, because it was always the Tory party back historically who would have wanted to, as I say, who wanted to make the state bigger. It was only up until when the socialists came along and the liberal sort of philosophy moulded with conservative philosophy at the sort of turn of the 20th century. That had changed. I mean, there's always interesting, particularly when you look at, as I say, Victorian politics, as to where people sort of lined up.
Yeah.
I mean, Edmund Burke, who is the sort of the father of modern conservatism, was a Whig.
Yeah.
So that always makes your sort of head scratch. But yeah, it's interesting.
Am I thinking too late, or am I thinking Burke had some kind of set up in the NHS?
No, that was Attlee.
I wasn't. Well, no, I know Attlee. Obviously that was his government.
Yeah, no. Burke made his name commentating on the French Revolution.
Oh, okay. I was way off. Fuck me.
It was him and Thomas Paine who wrote sort of contrasting commentaries. Thomas Paine way outsold him in England, but Burke turned out to be right because he predicted all the stuff that would happen in the 1790s, whereas Thomas Paine thought it was going to be a magnificent thing. Paine, ironically, went over there and got himself chucked in jail for being a reactionary.
Sorry, making sure I haven't turned off my mic accidentally. Producer Harris, you want to check something for me? I think I might have just stopped it. I think I'm back.
You're good, you're good.
Very good. Okay. Right.
Don't touch the red button.
Sorry, I was playing with the mic and I didn't realise I'd stopped recording for 1 second. I just felt my fucking clumsy thumb press something. Going back to what we were saying, obviously NHS, Clement Attlee's government, but I mean, yes, it was a Labour government, but it was also a Conservative idea, essentially.
It was the whole
Facilitated.
but the whole original One Nationism from I believe it was Disraeli who sort of coined that. Was actually a more conservative idea, trying to make the nation as a whole move forward. And it wasn't until really in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the Tories were well on board with the sort of socialisation and nationalisation of all the industries. It was only Margaret Thatcher that changed that.
Well, I mean, Thatcher. Hang on, we're going into a fucking political history. we didn't mean to do this. This is a fucking episode.
This is breaking news podcast.
This is literally a live stream episode. We did have a feed of Harris is just bringing it up now. We did have a feed in Parliament in regards to the hearings at the moment. I think all the hearings are through anyway. I think it's mainly just debate at a minute.
They're all prepping and trying to lay the groundwork for anyone who's just tuning in.
Just to finish the point on Thatcher, yes, Thatcher essentially dismantled a lot of the state that the Conservative Party actually built up.
Yeah, I mean, not just the state. I mean, stuff like the county system in the north, which is, I think, even in historical senses, that'll actually be viewed as more of a fuck up to the north than it was.
Well, because she consolidated at times like 3 different counties into one, like Cumbria, for example. You now have a county that is mass expanses of nothing and is so big with fuck all people there that it has barely any tax base and can barely keep itself afloat. Yeah.
It just completely screwed up the sort of nature of that area without actually. It's almost ironic that it's sort of it seems almost a colonial sort of reorganisation of government happening within the UK.
I mean, the most obvious part obviously being the closing of certain industries, mining. But I mean, that's by the by. We can discuss that at a different point.
That would be a good one to go into at one point. I think.
What do you predict in the next few days? Do you see any fucking? Do you see any well, we've seen already some resignations today.
We've seen some resignations. I think you'll hear a lot out of people who have been scorned out of the last Parliament, particularly men like Philip Hammond. Yeah. He's going to be chatting his arse a lot.
Just for context, about an hour or so ago, it was announced that the Conservative Party are going to allow back 10 members of Parliament that were kicked out of the party last month.
These are the 10 members who voted against the Letwin Amendment, which the government ultimately lost, which is kind of ironic, but they played their part and sort of showed that they were back on the team of Team Tory, and now they'll be allowed to run again as Tories in this upcoming election.
I mean, and it's interesting to see Hammond, who was the heaviest hitter of all of them. Yeah. Well, obviously, because he didn't vote. He didn't vote against the Letwin amendment. He voted for it.
Yeah, he voted for it, and I think he might be one of the few people that voted against a general election as well. There was only 20 people that voted against it, and I know he was running his mouth saying.
What happened to Spreadsheet Phil? I mean, I know Philip Hammond is a real kind of straight line liberal city sort of city autistic one nationist. But fuck me, I mean, he's really on a warpath.
Yeah, I think this is purely out of vengeance because he feels like he is him and Theresa May, and that administration was brought down before its time. What I
don't get about him is, I get you were going to be kicked out of cabinet when
no way he was going to stay in.
When Boris Johnson came in, but why destroy your post as an MP?
As I say, I think it's purely out of vengeance. I think he feels like Boris Johnson, rightly or wrongly, and there's the opinions on all sides of this one, but brought down the government so that he could go be a prime minister.
The reality is, no matter what his opinion on Brexit is, as long as he voted with the party, unless it was really egregious, he was never going to lose he would have never lost his seat as a Conservative.
No. No, exactly. Being a former Chancellor of the Exchequer, I mean, I believe, was Ken Clarke the Chancellor of the Exchequer at some point?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
And he's the outgoing father of the House, and
Yep.
by all accounts, very respected on all sides. I wonder what point you have to get to, how long you have to be in the House to actually be respected on all sides.
There's no way Clark is being let back into the Tory party. He's not part of his 10, is he?
He's not part of the 10 because he voted.
He voted for the Lowy agreement, as he would do.
He voted for and he was going to resign at the end of this parliament anyway.
I mean, he's fucking ancient.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, what is Clark's constituency?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest.
I'm trying to think whether it is a Brexit or Remain constituency. I have no clue because I've got no idea where in the country's constituency is. I don't know where it...
Just by new virtue of how long he's actually been in there, I would imagine that it would be a very safe seat. But that could easily be a Remain seat.
There's no promises because, I mean, you have to remember the last election... the reality was, just by way of being conservative, he would have kept his seat, despite the fact if his constituency were Leave, they just would have voted Conservative anyway.
But true. He is for. Oh, I had it and then I clicked off it. Apologies for that. He is the member of Parliament for Rushcliffe.
That's up north, isn't it, Rushcliffe? What area? What county?
I believe so, but Wikipedia will confirm because
is it part of Manchester?
That's the. Yeah, no, it's not part of Manchester. It's sort of in the middle, in the north.
So Yorkshire kind of way.
Just south of Yorkshire.
Derbyshire?
You might be able to tell better.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, that's Derbyshire. Rushcliffe. Conservative point. Ken Clarke. Rushcliffe. I'm just finding out where the fuck this is. I'm just trying to find out how it voted in... My guess, if it's Derbyshire, is it's probably going to be hardcore Leave.
Yeah, which will be extremely ironic, seeing he's been rallying
it's fucking Ken Clarke's constituency.
But then again, you look at someone like Kate Hoey, who has a extremely...
I was just going to say that if it turns out this... his constituency is hard Leave... I was going to make a comment, but then I realised it would just naturally take my mind back to Kate Hoey coming out and saying all Remain MPs that stand in Leave constituencies are not representing their constituencies and should be deselected. Well, bitch, you are the MP for Vauxhall, literally the second biggest Remain vote in the country, and you are one of the most ardent Leavers there are.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, fall on your sword if you believe that to be the case.
Well, but that's the thing, and I think one of the most disappointing things about the last couple of years is how many, if any, MPs have resigned because they didn't think that they could actually represent the will of the people. The will of the people that they represent. I mean, that's what David Cameron did the day after the referendum. He lost his political mandate and he decided he could not be in charge of the country anymore.
In all fairness to Hoey, and that's not something you're going to find me saying often. She did announce a few weeks ago that she's going to step down from Vauxhall.
Yeah, which
and
was always
not just from Vauxhall, but from Labour as well.
Okay.
I can't remember whether she said she was going to the Brexit Party or she's going to be independent. But
it would be a good scout for the Brexit Party if they could put her in a seat up north.
Well, that's the thing. There's so much party changing, and as a result, constituency changing at the moment. Look at Chaka Amuna being moved from Streatham to City and Westminster.
Yeah. Or Heidi Allen, who seemed to be on a one-woman mission to go to every single party that she could possibly go to, who has also announced that she will not be standing for the next election.
No.
Which is not a big surprise.
She announced that today, didn't she? She announced that today, Heidi Allen.
She announced that today, and she also announced that she would not be giving interviews, or a spokesperson announced this, because she would make her too emotional, which basically is...
She's South Cambridgeshire, which... I mean, I think away from Cambridge, which is South South Cambridgeshire is weird because South Cambridge as a city is obviously going to be very Remain, apart from the outskirts. And I don't know how many. I'm going to guess there's only one constituency that makes up the city of Cambridge, and that'll be South Cambridgeshire. That's just my guess because South Cambridgeshire is a big fucking area.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
And Cambridge is at the very southern border of Cambridgeshire.
right.
And so obviously Cambridge is very, as a city, is probably very Remain, but that big chunk outside the city is probably hardcore Leave.
I'd imagine that. I mean, it's the sort of same pattern you're finding a lot of the places. I mean, I don't know for some, but you might know better than me, Joe. What were the votes for in the actual cities, like Newcastle? Not the surrounding areas, but the actual
Good
metropolitan cities.
question. Someone kicked my ass on this the other day. I thought Newcastle was Leave. It actually turns out it was very highly Remain, like 60% or something.
That's what I would have thought, because this whole thing is mostly an urban-rural split, more than
Birmingham. A lot of people would be shocked to find out was actually Leave. But I think it doesn't shock me.
No, I think I could guess the reason.
Which
for that as well.
I think is the size of the Indian population.
Yeah, that's what I would have said as well, because it does surprise a lot of people when you mention this, but generally non-EU immigrant populations actually voted way more to Leave than you would have thought. I think they were still overall Remain, but particularly once you got outside of London, a lot of people, the sort of non-white population, did vote for Leave.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them thought, well, this is going to expand outside of the EU and increase outside of immigration, which is extremely ironic, I would say.
I don't know who the fuck misled the Indian community into thinking that if you stop EU citizens, that all of a sudden the Foreign Office is going to go, we're open up to India.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I mean, we already know as soon as the referendum happened, within weeks we had diplomats talking to the Indian government about a free trade agreement, and Modi actually said himself, you would have to include freedom of movement, and no one's mentioned talks since.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that means talks are going on quietly or if they've just stopped them dead in their tracks.
I mean, I'm not being funny. Like, does anybody think that's a good idea? Like having freedom of movement with a continental nation of 1 billion people.
Yeah, if freedom of movement has, if freedom of movement from one of the wealthiest continents on Earth has 500 million people, has got us to leave the world's most important trade market, do you really think that those same people that vote to leave that are going to be up for opening the doors to 1.5 billion of some of the world's poorest people?
Yeah.
No. The answer is no, they're not.
I mean, that could just be his opening gambit, as it were. And
I'm not necessarily saying that's my opinion. I'm just making the point that and to be fair, the government and the Foreign Office know that. Yeah, that's why I think it's either been very quiet for later talks with India, or they haven't mentioned it, or they've just stopped dead in their tracks.
There have been a lot of negotiations going on behind closed doors. I believe it's Liz Truss who is the International Development Secretary, which is not normally a very big job because obviously our trade has previously been done by the EU, but it's actually turned into a very important position.
Brexit. Just to say, sorry, I've been a little bit distracted for the last few minutes. I've got an answer for the Ken Clark question. So he is relatively a marginal Leave seat, Rushcliffe.
Right.
51, near enough 52%. Near enough the same result of Brexit, 52, country. Because it is 48 Remain and pretty much 52 Leave. So it just proves my point. Fucking Kate Hoey can suck it.
No, I completely agree with you. Any MP that it's just the height of hypocrisy. There's no other way to sort of say it.
If you're going to be,
if you're going to be principled on a democratic representative level, then you've got to be consistent with that.
At the end of the day, we are a democracy, and if you keep voting someone in and then moaning that he's your representative, shut up.
Yeah, shut up, Bob. Or even move.
Stop voting for the party and think about who is your member of parliament that you keep voting in.
Oh, that's it. I mean, that's something that I think people should do a little bit more of, is digging into their actual candidate, which doesn't get done a lot, particularly when, consider, what was that bloke's name? Jared Omar.
Up north.
Yeah, in Sheffield. The guy who beat he's a Labour MP who beat Nick Clegg
Yes.
for Hallam.
Sheffield Hallam.
And he has been a complete and utter train wreck. He's been kicked out of the Labour Party.
If I'm correct, a friend of mine told me he's an old school hardcore kid and he met him at a Madball show at the Underworld in Camden, which is hilarious.
It wouldn't surprise me. He's been basically an absent MP until the last month or so, where he's actually turned up and started voting for stuff, even though he announced he was going to resign.
Yeah.
And then after probably Labour had a word and said, actually, we need all the bloody votes
Was there not a bit of a controversy with him in regards to some kind of sexist language? Or
where he got, that was where his sort of, where he originally got kicked out of the Labour Party was tweets when he was like 19 or something, because he's not that much older than us.
He's only late 20s, early 30s, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there were some tweets, I think there was slightly, were they homophobic? They're not really homophobic, he just referred to someone as gay.
If they had been sent by somebody who had been elected office after they'd been elected, they would definitely be a sackable, resignable tweet. But this gets to the wider question of, when do you forgive people? Do you go after them all the time? That's something that's been constantly talked over on the internet quite a lot. I mean, there's lots of, when is the sort of byline? I mean, there was the whole thing with Kevin Hart, who got kicked out of the Oscars for basically the same thing. When he made a gay joke, which was homophobic in nature.
Kevin Hart is constantly redeemable in the sense that everyone seems to forgive him, which they should do.
But he still got
kicked
kicked out.
A joke. Who gives a shit?
He still got kicked out of the Oscars because he wasn't, to use an overstated phrase, he just wasn't woke enough at that point.
Going back to the point,
what
was the point actually? I just remember he was talking about
there's an election on, I think.
O'Mara being kicked out of the Labour Party. What brought us to that point?
These strings of information, they just come and they go.
Fucking tangents. Anyway, right. Any predictions for the next 3 days?
Yeah, I think it'll go through the House of Lords. The media will try and hype it up like there's some type of that the Lords will try and do something, but I doubt that's going to happen. The Lords are too self-preserving to think about that. They're always thinking about the long-term nature of the House of Lords. They're not going to risk an amendment. It'll go through. It'll get royal assent because the Queen ain't going to stop it. And we will then be in the full swing of the election. The thing to watch out for from my front is going to be if there's going to be a possible alliance between the Brexit Party and the Tory Party, which at the moment doesn't look likely.
It doesn't look likely.
Yeah.
I can't see Johnson getting in bed with Farage. As much as he's taken literally all of his, not just his thunder, but he's taken his tactics and his style, but in a more buffoonish way.
There is that. I mean, Farage and Cummings hate each other.
Is that back from the Vote Leave days?
Yeah.
Because obviously Vote Leave were the UKIP with actual power.
Yeah, because there was the two campaigns, one with Boris at the head and one with Farage at the head, effectively.
Yeah. Vote Leave, which was Boris at the head.
Yeah, which had Cummings on it, and Farage wanted to get rid of Cummings effectively, and Cummings basically went into a boardroom and said, "No, I'm not bloody leaving," and everybody sided with Cummings instead of Farage, which is one of the reasons why he went off and did his own thing.
Well, Cummings is a bit of a lunatic. Actually, he actually has some kind of, not to be done for slander here, but doesn't he have some kind of beliefs that actually are somewhere along the lines of eugenics?
Not that I've heard, but I've not heard his public
I've been
opinion
told that when he was an advisor to Gove, when obviously Gove was Minister for Education, effectively, obviously, Gove was in charge of bringing up a lot of the failing white working class schools out in the sticks, up north, in places like Essex. And Cummings' comment to that was, don't worry, their parents' income has already determined what their future is.
Well, that's not exactly in the spirit of social mobility, but you would expect from the Department of Education.
I mean, to be fair, Farage has kind of said that in a roundabout way. When you think about it, Farage is constantly talking about how he doesn't believe working class boys should not go to university.
Well, I mean, there's that, but then there's the argument of because I mean we went to school when it was the height of everybody needs to go to university.
Yeah.
And now that has calmed down a lot.
That was New Labour's obsession with university.
Yeah, they wanted 50% of the country to go to university, which they eventually achieved.
And I kind of understand it. I do understand it.
Well, then you've got a lot of people who would be better off in trades.
Oh, definitely.
Who end up going to university, settle all this debt, and end up
family
going to a
members
trade.
that ended up going to university just to end up in the trades.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they are people who are naturally suited to the trades.
I mean, even a profession like accountancy, you can leave school and start your qualification and be basically debt free and have a nice little nest egg by the time that everybody gets at university and a qualified accountant.
Yeah.
Certain professions like doctors and lawyers, you have to obviously, but I do think that there's an argument to be made that that we are a bit academically focused. When it comes to that, but
well, I mean, we are a service economy. At the end of the day, we generally we now talk about the importance of apprenticeships, but the reality is there's not that many industries where our economy is not made up of enough industry for apprenticeships to be that important.
At the moment, yeah, and they don't really organise the apprenticeships very well.
We're not Germany.
No,
it makes no real sense.
No, but I would much prefer the German education.
And by the way, this is coming from someone that works in brewing, where traditionally apprenticeships are so fucking important. I mean, well, you know, I didn't really take an apprenticeship. I suppose you call me an apprentice because I learned on the job, but I'm not an official. I was never an official apprentice.
Yeah, I mean, the official apprentice route is just so overly bureaucratic from what I've seen, and and I know why they do it, so that they can then point to these numbers and go, look how many apprentices we've got. But if they made it a lot more loose, then it would just be a lot more successful. I think actually do a lot bit cut red tape, do what the Tories party is supposed to do, but instead of just adding it on there so they can point to politics numbers. But what do you think is going to happen in the next few days, Joe?
Do you know what? This one's going to be a tough one to predict. I see some resignations. I don't know who from. Maybe from Spreadsheet Phil. But he has no importance anyway. He's pretty much a backbencher now.
Yeah, pretty much. You reckon old Terry will stay in for another term?
Terry?
Oh, Theresa May.
Oh.
It never got going, Terry.
She'll no, that one will never catch on. No. No, I think I think she's happy as a backbencher now.
Yeah.
I think that job literally nearly killed her.
I mean,
she's a terribly sick woman.
Yeah.
And I don't mean she's a sick woman, you know. I mean, she's ill. And it shows again how, like, my urban fucking, like, lingo is not updated since about 2007.
Or your Jamaican lingo, for that matter.
Well, yeah. But let's just call it a miscellaneous West Indies accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's a terribly ill woman. I mean, she's horribly diabetic. I think she has like 6 EpiPen injections a day.
Really? I didn't know that.
I mean, she was constantly on the point of fainting whenever she was talking. Florence, when she gave the Florence speech,
right.
You know, what was that, early 2017, late 2016?
Yeah,
she was on the fucking, I mean, it was kind of rabble-rousing as it was. I mean, she was on the fucking edge of fainting.
Jesus. I mean, going to a high-stress job like that when you've got those medical conditions, I mean, she's a trooper. You got to put her that way.
Yeah.
Just not in the way that pretty much anyone in the country wanted her to be.
I mean, Boris, I don't know the geezer. Johnson is now falling into what I call the May trap. I said this the other week, where you've got a parliament that's just going to vote round and round in circles, hence the general election, which will solve nothing.
No.
We'll get to December 13th just to find that, again, we've reached nothing in terms of we're just going to we're going to go back to Johnson's deal, and it's going to get blocked again.
I think that's the most likely situation, and the only way that's going to change is if the Tory party can do either one or two things. If the local associations can get rid of a lot of the more Remain
MPs, they can purge them, yeah.
But that could have ramifications further down the line, as they won't be seen as a big tent party anymore. Or Boris completely and utterly smashes the election and actually, as I said earlier, convinces the North to vote for him in big numbers. But that's the only way he's going to change the actual landscape.
Even as a Lib Dem voter, I'm not convinced that the Lib Dems are going to have quite the sway on this election that people predict.
I think they're going to split more votes than they win.
I don't see them actually taking any constituencies.
I've seen them taking a few, as I said, mainly
As
from
you
the
said,
Tories.
maybe London.
Yeah.
Maybe some London constituencies. They might take City. They
Yeah.
might take City and West with Chuckeramuna.
Yeah.
City and Westminster, sorry. City and West was a industrial lighting company I used to work for. City and Westminster. I could see Chuckeramuna taking, and then there's Finchley and Golders Green with Luciana Berger. I could see her taking that from Labour.
Okay. As I say, it's going to be an uphill struggle for all of the parties, apart from the SNP, who will gain the
Just
extra.
swipe the ball in.
Yeah, they'll
Scotland.
completely swipe the ball. I think you're right, because
which they're already close to anyway. If it wasn't
Yeah.
for the Tory inversion at the last election,
which was mainly down to Ruth Davidson.
yeah, and she's gone.
And
So
she's gone, exactly. And I think a lot of people who did vote for the Tory party in Scotland for the first time, maybe holding their nose a little bit, will have such a sour taste in their mouth over the last couple of years, they won't want to do
sorry,
it again.
I've just got the image of Ruth Davidson and a sour taste in her mouth. I mean, it writes itself, but point being, I'm not prying into her private life, but anyway, point being, Scotland. I don't know. Is there any further really that the SNP can move in Scotland? Because can you really see SNPs taking back those seats that have gone Tory?
I think, and I haven't looked at the numbers
Are they
on this,
moderate
but
enough seats for that to happen?
I would have to look at it, and I think this is going to be a future podcast idea for me to properly look into the numbers of the constituencies, so we can have look at the battlegrounds more, especially once more polling data has been released down to closer to the actual date. But I'd imagine that a lot of it is going to come down to how they voted in Brexit, because there were areas of Scotland that did vote to leave.
Well, yeah. I think most of those constituencies, or those 13 constituencies in Scotland that went blue, are naturally ones that voted leave.
Yeah.
Because pretty much all of those constituencies, bar one, which was, is it fucking Hebden Bridge? Not Hebden Bridge, something Bridge, the name of constituency, which was the only Tory constituency in Scotland before 2017.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
I mean, all of them were either Labour or SNP beforehand.
Yeah, because, well, the Labour Party really didn't do themselves any favours in the 2014 Scottish referendum.
No.
That was, I think, what really dug them in, because it was a 2015 election that really gave the Tories a bit of an inroad there.
Yeah.
In 2017, they really capitalised it from the Brexit.
I mean, because you saw a diminishment of Labour's vote. The Tories took a healthy amount of Labour seats, and then the SNP naturally surged forward.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like 38 fucking SNP seats in Scotland?
It's about 30 roughly, but they have had 50 all but one before, which was that one Tory seat.
That one Tory seat in the south, yeah.
Yeah. But as I say, I think it's gonna be a tall ask, but there should, if I was a polling company, that's where I'd be starting a lot of my polling to see what that's going to be, because that's going to be a big thing in the election. Where there's
just for context, we live in London, and we're very used to constituencies being like a small district of London.
Yeah, like not even a borough.
We're used to constituencies, like each borough having like 3 or 4 constituencies. Where like as soon as you get outside of London, constituencies are about the size of like half a county.
Yeah, I mean the Isle of Wight is one constituency.
Really?
Yeah,
That's 500,000 people.
It is the largest constituency in the
in the continuous UK.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a continuous UK because it's an island, but
yeah. But I think it's got 500,000 people on it. It's got like 70,000 people.
No, it has got about 400,000 people.
The Isle of Wight.
Yeah, I can get this up for you now. I think you're thinking of either Channel Islands or the Isle of Man.
The Isle of Man doesn't have a seat because it's not part of the UK.
No, but I'm saying the Isle of Wight is about roughly like just below 500,000, I think. I know this because I used to holiday there a lot as a kid. You're our resident South Coast expert. You should know this.
Yeah, that's not real South Coast, is
it? it's just not quite west enough for you.
But basically, anywhere that's not Plymouth is not real South Coast.
Right, hang on. Isle of Wight, I've got up for you now. It is. Oh, fuck me. I thought it was about 350,000. No, it's only 141,000.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still a lot more than I thought it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just that's a decent sized constituency.
That's enough for 2, I'd reckon. But
I would never use the Isle of Wight as a constituency, as a barometer for the west of the country, because they have a really different mindset down there.
Yeah, well, it's
It's an island at the end of the day.
well, that's it. It's a real island, not like Canby Island, which is not a
Fucking
real island.
fun fact of the day: Isle of Wight. Do you know it's actually been closer to independence than the Isle of Man?
Really?
Even though the current situation of the Isle of Man within the UK is actually closer to independence because it is a crown dependency,
Yeah.
separate from England, there's actually been active independence movements within the Isle of Wight that have been closer than the Isle of Man.
That is
Or have
interesting.
been... Hang on. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah. No, that is interesting. I mean, can you imagine that country? I mean, I have a hard time imagining Wales being an independent country, but the Isle of Wight, come on, lads.
I mean, literally, it's not even treated like the Channel Islands or like the Isle of Wight, where they're not English. They are their own identity. So we don't call them part of England. They're a crown dependency.
I mean, there's a lot of Cornish people that think that.
Yeah, I mean, well, because to be fair to the Cornish, they are a different Celtic group.
Yeah, they have the old Britannic blood in there before
Yeah.
the Saxons came over.
Where the Isle of Wight, I mean, they're English.
Yeah.
I suppose they're a different type of English because they are like unadulterated Angles. They're not mixed with Saxons and they're not mixed with Jutes. Oh, hang on. Were they Angles or Jutes? No, they were Jutes. Jutes from the Isle of Wight.
Angles are more north, weren't they?
Angles were Norfolk, Essex, Hertfordshire, all that kind of area. They were unadulterated Jutes. I think you only really saw Jutes in big populations on the Isle of Wight and then in Kent.
Yes, well, why we're known as Anglo-Saxons rather than Anglo-Jutes or whatnot.
Yeah. So they are kind of different because I think there's dialectually there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
Like if you ever hear an Isle of Wight accent, it's kind of similar to a West Country accent, but a bit more warbly.
Yeah, it's a bit thicker. It's sort of a little bit like you hear Irish accents, but not of the island of Ireland, but actually or like little islands off it.
Yeah.
Sort of like the
Cracky
Father,
Island.
Yeah, I was just thinking the Father Ted type islands.
Oh, here, racist now, father. But yeah, I don't know.
I think on that nostalgic 90s note,
Before you close it up there, can we another special in the works? We'll have to do an Isle of Wight special.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Voting history, economic breakdown, literally breakdown of the economics there.
Yeah, because it is quite interesting that.
It's an interesting place, and the education system is really fucked up. Really bad education system there. And obviously, I can't remember which member of parliament it was in Cameron's cabinet, who referred to it as a white ghetto.
Wow, I mean that's strong words. Particularly with there's plenty of competition for that.
And how the fuck can you call an island a ghetto? I mean, there's forests, there's villages, there's open fields.
Particularly when its main industry is tourism.
It's not a singular urban area.
Yeah.
It's a big island. Point being, you were going to close this up, weren't you?
I think it is probably about time. We are going to have plenty of time in the next 5 weeks to discuss the election. I no doubt we'll be very bored of it very soon, if we're not bored of it already.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, it's been going on ever since Boris Johnson got elected.
At least we've now got a continuous subject to follow over the next few weeks, which is we can just follow this, and it's going to be an anticlimax. We know that.
It probably will be. The one thing that will guarantee, though, is that Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn will lose their leadership of this election after this.
I think likely to be Corbyn.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would, if I was going to put money on it, which I don't bet on politics for obvious reasons.
And you may disagree with me on this. The next candidate, I think the next Labour leader will be McDonnell.
Trying to scare me, Joe. Trying to scare me.
Hard left, but pro Remain.
I can see that going for him. It depends whether the members will finally concede that it's very hard to get a hard left person elected prime minister, which with the current cohort of Labour members,
Momentum are blinkered as fuck. They'll want someone who's pro Remain, but they won't recognise that the moderate Labour vote out there will not vote for a.
Will all those people
left.
that joined the Labour Party for those £3 votes, will they be so disenfranchised of, let's be honest, the utter failure of Jeremy Corbyn over the last 4 years to actually capitalise on two mandates from the Labour members?
And by the way, 2 losses. It'll be 2 electoral losses by that point.
Exactly. And
normally an incumbent Labour leader, party leader, will normally not survive 1 loss.
No. Which is, it's he's been around for along. He's actually survived 3 Tory leaders. If you think about that, because he was
Oh,
around.
fuck.
He was around for Cameron. He was around for the whole of May's tenureship, and now he's around for Boris. Jeremy Corbyn has actually been the most stable figure in British politics for the last 4 years.
Fuck.
And on that note,
No, let's fuck this off for tonight.
yeah.
Right, see ya.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.